There is a place on your body that, when you touch it for 60 seconds, can completely change the way blood reaches where it needs to go. And almost no man over 50 knows it exists. I am Dr. Natalia Castro, and I'm going to explain this to you clearly. But before showing you where this point is, you need to understand why thousands of men wake up every day feeling like they've lost something that shouldn't have gone away. And the answer isn't what you imagine. Most men think it's testosterone. They believe a blood test is enough and the problem is solved. But when these men come to my office and I request the tests, guess what happens? The levels are normal, perfectly normal. And then they look at me confused, frustrated, because if it's not testosterone, then what's going on? That's when I explain something that changes everything. The problem isn't in the hormones, it's in the communication. Their body still wants to function, but there's a silent blockage preventing the signals from reaching where they should. Think about it. You spend the whole day sitting, hours in traffic, hours in front of the computer, hours on the couch watching TV. And meanwhile, something invisible is happening inside your pelvis. The muscles that should be relaxed start to tighten slowly, without pain, without warning, and they tighten right over the nerves and blood vessels that need to function perfectly for intimacy to happen. Over time, these muscles learn to stay tense, becoming a permanent knot. And that's why, even when you want to, even when the desire is there, the body doesn't respond like it used to. Here's what most people don't realize. This process didn't start yesterday. It's been happening silently for years, maybe decades. And every day that passes, this knot gets a little tighter, the signals get a little slower, the response gets a little weaker. Until one day you wake up and realize it's not like it used to be. And then comes the question every man asks himself in silence. Is this permanent? Is there no going back? The answer is no. It's not permanent. But to understand how to reverse it, you need to understand what's really happening inside your body. Because it's not just muscle tension, it's a combination of factors that feed into each other, creating a cycle that worsens on its own if you do nothing. And the good news is that when you break this cycle at a specific point, everything starts to improve together. After 50, a substance called nitric oxide starts to decrease naturally. This substance is responsible for making blood vessels open up. Without it, the arteries that carry blood to the intimate area don't expand as they should. It's like trying to fill a balloon with a crumpled tip. The air gets in, but it never fills completely. And along with that, small deposits start to form inside these vessels. It's not serious enough to cause a heart problem, but it's enough to reduce the pressure and firmness you need. And there's more. The nerves that transmit arousal signals also start to slow down. It's not that they stop working, they just don't fire as quickly as they did when you were 30. The signal still exists, but it takes longer to arrive. And when it arrives, it's weaker, less clear, easier to interrupt by any distraction or worry. Now put it all together. Tense muscles compressing the nerves, blood vessels that don't open properly, slower circulation, weaker nerve signals. And on top of that, there's a factor almost no one talks about, but which worsens everything exponentially: stress. When you're stressed, the body goes into survival mode. And in survival mode, the last thing it wants to do is prepare for intimacy. It wants to fight or flee. So it diverts all the energy to the large muscles, the heart, the lungs, and leaves the intimate area at the bottom of the priority list. That's why even when you're relaxed, even when it's the right moment with the right person, the body doesn't respond. Because it spent the whole day in alert mode and doesn't know how to switch it off quickly. But here's what almost no one tells you. There is a way to teach the body to switch off this alert mode, and it starts in a place you probably never thought to touch. Comment here where you're watching from, because I see men from various parts of Brazil going through exactly this and thinking they're alone in this situation. So, where is this point? Between the scrotum and the anus, there's a small region called the perineum. Most men don't even know the name of it. Some have heard of it but never paid attention. But this tiny area is the control center for everything you need to have a healthy, intimate life. A nerve called the pudendal nerve passes through there. This nerve is responsible for sending signals to the brain that say, everything's ready, you can start. Small arteries also pass through there, feeding the base of the penis with oxygenated blood. And there's more. There's a network of muscles that determines how much blood enters and how long it stays there. Now imagine this. This nerve, these arteries, these muscles, they've all been compressed for years, decades actually. And no one ever taught you that you can release this compression. When you apply gentle pressure to this point, something immediate starts to happen. The muscles relax, the vessels open, the nerve wakes up. Many men tell me they feel a warmth spreading through the pelvis. Others feel a sensation of heaviness, of fullness. It's not an erection, it's the body remembering how to function. But before I show you exactly how to do this massage, you need to understand why it works. Because if you don't understand the logic behind it, you'll do it wrong, press too hard, or in the wrong place, give up too quickly, and keep thinking there's no solution. The pelvic floor is a set of muscles that supports all the internal organs in the pelvis. Bladder, intestines, prostate, everything. These muscles need to be strong enough to support, but relaxed enough to allow blood to flow freely. The problem is that most men over 50 have a chronically tense pelvic floor. It's not weak, it's tense. And excessive tension is just as bad as weakness. When these muscles are contracted all the time, they act like a tourniquet around the blood vessels. The blood tries to get in, but meets resistance. And the worst part is that this tension doesn't cause pain, doesn't cause any symptoms, until you try to be intimate and realize the body isn't responding. So what happens when you massage this specific point? First, you're sending a direct signal to the brain, a signal that says, it's safe to relax here. The parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for relaxation and arousal, starts to dominate. The sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight system, starts to calm down. Second, you're physically releasing the muscle tension, like when you massage a knot in your back and feel it melt away. Third, you're stimulating blood flow to the area. Fresh, oxygen-rich blood starts to reach where it's been blocked for years. But here's the mistake that ruins the results for 90% of men who try this on their own. They find the point, press hard for a few seconds, don't feel anything immediate, and give up. The technique matters more than the location, much more, because you're not trying to force anything. You're convincing the body to release something it's been holding on to for years. And that requires patience, breathing, and mental presence. First step, sit on a firm chair. It can't be a couch, it can't be an armchair. It has to be something that provides real support to the skin. A dining chair will do. If you try to do this sunk into a soft couch, the pelvis will tilt wrong and you won't be able to access the point correctly. Second step, use 2 fingers or a small massage ball. I recommend starting with fingers because you have more control over the pressure. Locate the point between the scrotum and the anus. It's roughly in the middle of that distance. You'll feel a slight depression there, a space between the muscles. You don't need to dig, you don't need to press hard. You'll feel some sensitivity there. That's completely normal. It's accumulated tension. Third step, and this is the most important, apply slow, steady pressure. It's not a quick touch, it's not pulsating pressure, it's firm, gentle, constant pressure. And here's the part most people skip. Breathe deeply through the abdomen. Let your belly rise when you inhale and fall when you exhale. This breathing takes the body out of alert mode and into relaxation mode. That's the state where arousal happens naturally. If you do the massage while breathing quickly through the chest, it won't work because the body will keep thinking it's in danger. Maintain the pressure for 10 to 15 seconds. Breathe slowly, 3 seconds inhaling, 3 seconds exhaling. Then make very slow circular movements as if you're melting a knot. It's not a fast massage, it's slow, almost meditative circular pressure. Continue for a total of 60 seconds without rushing, without excessive force, just letting the area release. What happens physiologically is remarkable. The pelvic floor relaxes, the vessels dilate, fresh oxygen-rich blood starts to flow where it needs to go, and the nerve becomes more responsive. In just a few minutes, many men feel a clear change. It's not magic, it's anatomy being unlocked. Some men feel warmth, others feel a sensation of heaviness or fullness in the area. Some feel tingling, as if the area is waking up after being dormant for a long time. All of this is normal. It's a sign that blood is circulating again. It's a sign that the nerves are transmitting signals again. But there's an important detail. If you feel sharp pain, stop immediately. This shouldn't hurt. It might be sensitive, it might be uncomfortable in the first few days, but it should never be sharp pain. If you feel pain, you're pressing too hard or in the wrong place. And here's something that surprises many men. In the first few days, the sensitivity might even increase a bit. That's not a sign of worsening. It's a sign that you're finally giving attention to an area that's been neglected for years. It's like when you start stretching a shortened muscle. At first it complains, but after a few days it relaxes. And then you realize how tense it was before. But there's a problem. And this problem is what separates men who achieve lasting results from those who feel an initial improvement and then go back to square one. Even if you do the technique perfectly, there's a set of daily habits that might be canceling out all the benefits before they even happen. And when you understand these blockers, everything makes sense. Because the truth is that this 1-minute massage only reaches its full potential when the rest of your day isn't working against you. The first blocker is obvious, but no one talks about it clearly. Sitting for too long. I'm not talking about an hour or two. I'm talking about spending 8, 10, 12 hours a day sitting in the car, at the office, on the couch. This not only makes the pelvic floor tense, but teaches it to stay tense. Even when you stand up, the muscles remain contracted because that's become their default. It's like squeezing the hose while trying to water the garden. The flow never reaches where it should. And there's a detail almost no one notices. It's not just the time sitting, it's how you sit. If you sit with your pelvis tilted back, sunk into the couch or chair, you're compressing the perineum directly against the surface. It's like sitting on your own hose for 8 hours a day, every day, for years. And then you wonder why the blood flow isn't good. Second blocker, the way you breathe. Most men over 50 breathe high in the chest, short, shallow, quick breaths. This keeps the body in a constant state of low-level alert. And when the body is on alert, the last thing it wants to do is prepare for intimacy. It wants to survive. The pelvic floor tightens, the vessels close, the brain diverts energy away from the intimate area. Breathing through the abdomen for 2 minutes a day can reverse this completely, but it has to be intentional. It's not automatic breathing. It's you placing your hand on your belly and feeling it rise when you inhale. Third blocker, posture. Pelvis tilted forward, shoulders slumped, spine curved. This compresses the pelvic nerves. Over time, the body adapts to this compression, and arousal signals become slower, weaker, more inconsistent. Posture affects everything. It affects circulation, it affects the nerves, it even affects hormone production. Because when you're hunched over, compressing the abdomen, the internal organs get squeezed, and squeezed organs don't function well. Fourth blocker, chronic stress. And here, I'm not talking about acute stress, that momentary tension. I'm talking about stress that's become your normal state. High cortisol not only affects mood, it reduces nitric oxide production, decreases nerve sensitivity, and keeps the body in a state where intimate performance becomes almost impossible. The body can't be in fight mode and intimacy mode at the same time. They're opposing systems. One turns off the other. And if you live in constant stress, intimacy mode never fully turns on. And there's one more that no one imagines: hydration. When you drink too little water, the blood literally gets thicker, harder to circulate, less efficient at carrying oxygen. And oxygen is essential for erectile function. Without enough oxygen, the erectile tissue can't expand fully. It stays soft, less responsive, less sensitive. Alcohol, especially at night, worsens all of this. It interferes with circulation, disrupts nerve communication, and causes that morning fatigue many men attribute to age, but which is actually dehydration and inflammation. The good news is that these blockers are reversible. Small changes cause big effects. Get up and walk for 5 minutes every hour. This isn't intense exercise, it's just movement, just enough to loosen the pelvis. Practice abdominal breathing while driving or before bed. 3 minutes already make a difference. Stretch the hip flexors for 60 seconds a day. These are the muscles at the front of the thigh that get shortened from so much sitting. When they shorten, they pull the pelvis out of alignment. Drink an extra glass of water between meals. It doesn't have to be liters, just enough to keep the blood fluid. Reduce alcohol at night, especially strong drinks. None of this requires huge effort, but each action removes a layer of resistance from the system you're trying to recover. And when you remove these resistances, the massage you're doing becomes exponentially more effective. And this is where I need to tell you about something that can accelerate this whole process. Because while you're doing the massage and adjusting these habits, there are invisible mistakes that most men over 60 make without knowing. Mistakes that silently damage the prostate and compromise intimate function long before any symptoms appear. Mistakes that seem harmless but accumulate damage over the years. I created a complete material called The Medical Guide to Avoid Mistakes that Damage the Prostate. After 60, in it, I explain the 4 most common mistakes men make thinking they're taking care of themselves, but which actually worsen the situation. The link is pinned in the comments below. Grab it now while it's still available, because it complements everything you're learning here. Now, back to what matters. You're not broken. Your body isn't failing. It's just stuck in old patterns. Patterns created over years of habits you didn't even realize were affecting you. And these patterns can be rewritten faster than you imagine. When you understand what's blocking your progress and start removing those obstacles, the massage you learned becomes exponentially more effective. It's not a magic solution, it's a systematic solution. It's you working with your body instead of against it. And here's what I want every man over 50 to hear. Masculinity isn't defined by temporary difficulties. Every man goes through phases where the body seems slower, more tired, less responsive. That doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. And the truth no one tells you is that the body can improve at any age. I've seen this hundreds of times. I've seen men in their 50s, 60s, 70s recover potency energy, and confidence simply by giving the body small, consistent signals of care. This simple massage routine isn't a sign of desperation. It's a sign that you're choosing to reconnect with yourself. It's a sign that you're not passively accepting decline. You're doing something about it, and that takes courage. It takes willingness to look at your own body without shame. It takes humility to recognize you need help and persistence to continue, even when results don't appear on the first day. I've seen hundreds of men enter my office, embarrassed, convinced it was permanent, and leave weeks later with a confidence they thought they'd lost forever. Not because of expensive medications, not because of invasive procedures, but because they learned to reconnect with their own body in a way no one had ever taught them. Because no one teaches men to care for this area. No one talks about the male pelvic floor. No one explains that there's maintenance to be done. And so men reach 50, 60 years old without ever having paid attention to it. And they wonder why things have changed. You deserve to feel strong, you deserve to feel desired, you deserve to enjoy intimacy without fear or hesitation. And the best part is that it's not too late. No matter how long you've been feeling this, no matter how many years you've spent ignoring the signs, your body responds quickly to the right stimuli when they're applied consistently. Consistency creates momentum, momentum creates confidence, and confidence creates self-sustaining results. Because here's what happens when you start the massage and feel that first improvement, that first sign that the body is responding, it changes something in your mind. You stop feeling powerless. You stop thinking you're a victim of aging. You start realizing you have control. And that perception of control changes everything. It changes how you relate to your own body. It changes how you feel about intimacy. It even changes how you present yourself to the world. You're closer to recovering your strength than you imagine, much closer, because the difference between where you are now and where you want to be isn't a huge distance. It's just a blockage, a muscular, nervous, circulatory blockage. And that blockage can be removed. You just learned how. Now it's just a matter of applying it with patience, consistency, and the certainty that the body responds when you give it what it needs. If this type of content helps you, subscribe to the channel because here we talk about what almost no one explains clearly. My goal is to give men over 50 the tools, knowledge, and confidence to recover energy, performance, and longevity. At the beginning of this video, I told you there was a point that most men never imagine, and that plays a powerful role in restoring potency. Now you understand why, and more importantly, you know how to activate it.